Good morning, guys. How are you? I'm waiting to go live here on my personal page, and then we'll kind of start with. Wanted to talk about something pretty simple today. Always have that cough. So yeah, guys, thanks for joining me. Like I said, I always want to go live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday unless something major comes up that I can't do it. My wife and I are fortunate enough we're going to go get in the car here in a few hours and drive to go see my oldest boy play some baseball. So that's exciting. Always look forward to that and love it when sports are getting going, and I feel incredibly blessed that both of my kids that are in sports are active in the sports and they're able to play the sports. So that's great. Excited to, like I said, jump in a car and go watch some baseball tonight. So listen, very simple title to this live video. We're going to talk about courage. And like I said, I always want to try to think of something that's, obviously relevant in my life, things that'll help me in my life, because that's what I want to speak on, right? I mean, a lot of times these videos, as I always say, are just as much for me as not for me, for you guys, and trying to share it. So it helps. And I posted a quote this morning, and I said, well, why don't I just talk about that? Why don't we just expand? Expansion is in the quote. On that a little bit. And it talked about life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage. Now this is a big deal, guys. When we talk about this, life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage. And if you really look at that quote, it's so incredibly true. Our life either shrinks, it gets smaller when we don't have the courage to do the things that we may want to do or ask for the things. I love this quote too. It says, you get in life what you have the courage to ask for. You get in life what you have the courage to ask for. So it's true, guys. Courage really will determine, or is a big determiner of our life being expansive or being more beautiful or experiencing more things. Or if we don't have the courage, our life shrinks. And it's so true, and we need to understand that. And that's really true for every area in our lives, right? In business, if we don't have the courage to pursue the things that we need to do, if we don't have the courage to go after the things that are going to give us the greatest success in business, whatever success that success looks like, if we don't have the courage to maybe pursue the things that's in our heart that would really make us happy, that if we did them, okay, our life may begin to get smaller if we don't do that, right? You may end up in a job you don't like. You may end up in a position you don't care for. You may end up with not the passion that you could have in a daily basis on your heart because you didn't have the courage to pursue or go after what it is that you wanted, right? So that could be an example. Maybe an example in your relationship, right? You didn't have the courage to have maybe the hard conversations. You didn't have the courage to maybe ask for what it is that you wanted, and then you ended up being resentful in that relationship, whatever it may be. You didn't have the courage to maybe pursue the relationship that you wanted. All these different things, right? Courage. There's so much different things that we have to show courage in the day. It's amazing, right? And business, relationships, parenting, right? It takes courage sometimes. It takes courage, sometimes even to start a family and get that going. It takes courage. It takes tough conversations to be able to have those courageous talks with your children when you may not want to rock the boat or you may be worried, right? Like, I mean, just a simple thing may be, talking about sex education with your kids. That's a scary thing. I remember having those conversations with my boys, and my wife did it with their daughter. It was scary. Oh my gosh, like I cannot even believe how nerve-wracking it was. But I had to have the courage to have those conversations with them, and I have to continue we have to continue, my wife and I have to continue to have those courageous conversations with our kids about sex and about the different things that may be uncomfortable, and drugs and all those different things. We have to show the courage to do that. And hopefully what will happen off of that is our relationship expands, right, with our children, because we have those courageous talks. We're relating, we're communicating, and hopefully their life will expand too. So if you almost look at that quote, life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage. If you are courageous in those most important areas of your life, then it also benefits others too. We got to think about that. So often what we do is we just think about ourselves, right? But we also need to look at the people that we may not be able to affect in a positive way, or the people that we may not be able to touch, or the relationships that we may not be able to cultivate and have, from a lack of courage, right? There's so many different things that if we just showed more courage, how much more I feel of a benefit to this world we could be, right? I think, lack of courage or fear holds so many people back from the conversations that they could have or should have, from the passions that they could be living and now they're not living because they're in fear. All these different things. I mean, fear is a paralyzer, and it paralyzes us from I feel going out and blessing others in a tremendous way. So we really need to look at that, guys. I'm looking for another quote that I wanted to say here. Oh, I love this one, Vincent van Gogh. And sometimes this is a question that we have to ask ourselves: what would life be? What would life be if we had no courage to attempt anything? Really? You know what I'm saying? It's like what would your life be if you showed no courage? But I think a good way to do that is kind of reverse that and move and shift that around, and really look at your life and ask yourself the question: what would my life be like if I begin to show more courage? What would my life begin to be like if I begin to show more courage? I think that's tremendous, right? And we need to look at that. We need to look at that. We need to begin to ask ourselves the question: what if I showed more courage in my workplace? Right? What if I did the things that maybe I didn't want to do because I was fearful? What would it look like? What would it look like if I showed more courage in my marriage? Right? If I had the conversations that I needed to have, the tough conversations, in a loving way, in a caring way. Being courageous doesn't mean being a jerk or not saying things in a loving and a smooth and a smart way. What would it be like if I showed more courage with my kids, right? When they get to that teenage years, or maybe just when they're older too, right? Courage, all those different things. It made me quickly think, what if I had more courage to do more crazy experiences in life? My kids, a few of them just got back from Universal Studios, and they were telling me about the rides. I'm like, dude, that does not sound fun to me, but I know there's individuals out there that love that, right? That have those. So my wife and the kids were able to experience that, and they experienced, and their life expanded because, they were showing the courage to go and get on these rides that are just, when I saw them, looked crazy, but now they have that experience, and it's just amazing, guys. So think about that. So think about it today. I'm not going to go on too long at this point, keep it under 10 minutes. But think about being more courageous. Understand that quote that life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage. And the next time you come upon a situation where there's that fear and it's very hard to be courageous or show that courage, that thing that you need to do, whatever it may be, really think about that. Say, if I am courageous here and I go ahead and do the things that I want to do, right? Or the conversations that I want to have, or make the call that I don't want to make, all these different things, it's almost like if we begin to start to be a little bit more comfortable being uncomfortable, if we start to become a little more comfortable being courageous as opposed to not living in fear, right? Because I think, almost living a courageous life doesn't mean all these crazy things that you got to do. It's just really almost the opposite of living your life not in fear. Living your life not in fear and being courageous enough to do the things that you want to do and the conversations that you should have, or going after or pursuing the things that God did place in your heart, right? There's so many different ways to look at it. So I'll leave with this: life shrinks or expands in direct proportion to one's courage. Go be courageous today, okay? Thanks, guys. Bye.